Now, let's get to the Jets news of the day, shall we? First on the docket, we got a docket. There it is. First on the docket is the big media watch. We got to watch these big media people. And in the form today of the head coach AG Wednesday presser. Lots of badness from the media. Now, the context of the media with the Jets right now, the Jets are not winning, so they're pissed. Why are they pissed? Because they're journalists, quote unquote, who want to write books like Gary Gnu Myers, always, pants on fire. He's just a liar. Gary Gnu Myers has a book, or 2 or 3 or 5, that he's written about the Giants. So he loves the Giants because he covered the Giants, and then they kept winning, and now he has the privilege and the pleasure of writing books and making millions and millions of dollars. And that's what the Jet people would like to do, but they can't because the Jets refuse to win. They just lose and lose and lose. So now they're pissed. So now they have to come up with controversy to keep their clicks going. They need controversy. They need quarterback stuff. They need anything and everything. They need to put somebody's career on the line. And the people that they're character assassinating now are, of course, AG, but also Steve Wilkes, and we'll see why. So the first question that I heard, I came into the presser late. When I say came in, I mean watched on YouTube. And so I got this question first. It was toward the end, but it's a dog shit question. Why are the Jacksonville Jaguars intercepting so many passes, but the Jets are not? They ask Aaron Glenn. And, of course, the implication is you're a defensive guy. You are a defensive back yourself. You're supposed to have this great defensive backfield coaching going on that they told us all summer. And I said, what are you talking about? But anyway, that was the implication by this media. Dog shit question. Because it's also inviting him to shit on his coaches and to shit on his players. That's what they're inviting him to do. Terrible. But then I went back and watched the beginning of the presser, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions in a row about the quarterbacks. 6 questions. Some of the questions were exactly the same. They asked a question, he answered it, then they asked again in a slightly different format. He was like, I already answered that. Now, why are they doing that? Well, they need quarterback controversy. That sells. So people on the hot seat, that sells. Character assassination, that sells. Quarterback controversy. Who's your quarterback? What about Tyrod? What's going on with Brady Cook? How about this Adrian Martinez? Yeah, we signed Adrian Martinez back. We got him. So 6 or 7 questions in a row about quarterbacks. I counted them: Dick Chimney, Brian Costello, Country Club, Connor Hughes, and Mark Cannizzaro, and then someone I don't know, their little chintzy voice. But, and basically, not cliche, no answers, which is what you should do, of course. Now, they asked about the pass. So this was a good question. What about the pass rush? Now, that's a good question. It's a legitimate question. You don't do a long wind-up. You don't do a 50-second trap question entryway. Wind-up. They just said, how do you feel about your pass rush this year? Nice and easy, to the point. And he was honest with them. See what happens when you ask a question in a respectful way? And he said, it's been up and down, and everyone knows we got to get better with that. And he was very truthful, I thought, and authentic, which to me says we're going to go get some pass rushers in the offseason. Free agency, draft, however we can get them. And he talked about, JJ's coming back from injury and Will McDonald up and down. Will McDonald not good enough, which was, he didn't say that, but that's essentially what he was saying. And that to me was encouraging because that's the truth. And Will McDonald needs to move more into a support role. And we need to get somebody who's more consistent. They also asked him about run defense, also another good question. And he talked about gap integrity and missed tackles, all true. But then they go back to their bullshit questions. Has Jamien Sherwood lived up to expectations? In other words, here's an invitation for you to shit on Jamien Sherwood. Wood is also now someone that they're trying to character assassinate. Jamien Sherwood is another guy that they're going to basically run out of town. Has he lived up to expectations? What do you expect him to say? And he actually gave a pretty honest answer. He said, in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. He needs to do better. Everyone needs to do better. Then they asked another question. Well, you talked about gap integrity. Is that Jamian's? How much of that is Jamian's fault? They asked a follow-up question inviting him to shit on Jamian Sherwood. This is what they're doing. You understand? They're character assassinating Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilkes, and now Jamian Sherwood. This is what they're doing. Just so you understand the context, the bigger context here. And he said, no, it's the whole defense, right? They actually asked him, this is the last one on the media. They actually asked him, you said you were talking to Steve Wilkes, but like when you're talking to him, isn't it coaching? All these things you're talking about, gap integrity, missed tackles, the lack of interceptions, isn't that coaching related? And then didn't you how do you address that with Steve Wilkes? Do you understand what a horrible question that is? Please shit on Steve Wilkes, your defensive coordinator. That's what they're asking him to do. I just don't understand how these people get away with it. Like, you understand that Aaron Glenn is the boss of Steve Wilkes, right? And so anytime they're talking, it's in an employment relationship where, you know what I mean? It's almost like a performance evaluation. You ever have a performance evaluation with your boss out there? You out there? You ever have a performance evaluation with your boss? And the boss is telling you, okay, you did all these good things this year, and you got to improve in these areas. Would you like all of your areas of improvement to be released to the public? So, of course, Glenn just looked at them and said, I'm not going to tell you guys that. I'm going to keep that between us. Of course, we talk about it. We talk about a lot of things. We're going to keep that between us. But it is rather shocking how much they have their guns, their reporter journalistic guns aimed at Aaron Glenn and Jamian Sherwood now and Steve Wilkes, and that's who they're going after. It's really kind of shocking. And nobody, hardly anybody can put these people in their place. Somebody wrote in, Big Green, shout out to Big Green. Big Green wrote in and said, Glenn should give these reporters the Donald Trump treatment, how Trump, not realizing Donald Trump has like 50 years of dealing with the media and expertise built up with that and understanding how they work. And he had to create his own social media network, his own social media company to get the word out at that time when he was banned from everything. And all this stuff, like there's no one else who can do that. Everyone else, it's very hard to talk about the media. And that's one of the reasons we talk about it here on FSPN. If you enjoy it, give a like, give a subscribe. Think about joining the inner circle where you get lots of cool stuff.